I had a meeting scheduled for this morning, so I kind of got all ready to do a video call with someone, but they canceled last minute. So I was like, what am I going to do with myself? So I decided to do a little insomnia class because recently someone asked me to put to the top of my list a video or a class about insomnia. So that is what we will be talking about today. Give me 1 second. I just want to share this video into my group. Let me know if you have any questions or where you are watching from when you come on. Okay. All right, so let's talk about insomnia. Not being able to sleep sucks. It is terrible. I've been there before, and it's never been a chronic problem for me at any point in my life, but I've definitely gone through seasons where I just, couldn't fall asleep. And it is maddening, especially if you have like stuff to do the next day, like a job or anything that requires you to kind of like be your full self. Laying in bed and not being able to sleep is just like, can drive you absolutely crazy. And so I want to talk about the different reasons that you might be experiencing or dealing with this problem. So you could have either primary insomnia or secondary. And so secondary insomnia means that there's something else going on, and the insomnia, the not being able to sleep, is kind of a side effect of something else. And so from that perspective, we want to look at conflicts. So how conflicts can be playing a role in you not being able to sleep at night. Also, the healing phase. So once you've resolved a conflict, you might be having trouble sleeping as a part of the normal healing phase. And then also there are lifestyle factors that we want to look at that could be contributing to why you're not sleeping. And then there's primary insomnia, which is like the insomnia is a thing unto itself. And we'll talk about that. So let's first talk about insomnia. So not being able, difficulty falling asleep, or you fall asleep and you're like up at 3 a.m. and you can't fall back asleep. If you have an active conflict, and so from the German New Medicine perspective, so any kind of active conflict is when you are thinking about something, your mind is racing, there's something going on in your life. It could be in your relationships, it could be a financial thing, it could be, a self-worth type issue, that, something embarrassing that happened, and it's just like replaying in your mind all night long. You're in an active conflict. And so there's a biological purpose to you being awake during these hours when normally you'd like to be sleeping. It is your body's way of saying, hey, let's resolve this conflict. Let's address it. Let's shift our perspective. Let's go out and change something so that we can resolve the conflict. And so that's the biological purpose. If you're active with any type of conflict, scan your experience. What's going on? Why might you be having trouble sleeping? So it could be one or multiple conflicts that you have active right here and right now that need to be addressed. And so if you've got any type of symptoms, like chronic on and off symptoms, you can look to the biological conflict. Like if you're having chronic pain, you can say, okay, well, this is some type of self-devaluation or self-worth type issue that is unresolved. And so that could be the reason that you are unable to sleep. A couple of ways that you can tell if you're in an active conflict, having cold hands and feet, that's an indication of sympathetic activity. So there are several ways that you can work to figure out if it's an active conflict. Typically, it's something you're aware of. Like if you're aware, yes, I've been stressing, worrying, freaking out about this thing, that's probably the reason that you are unable to sleep. And so that one is probably one of the least mysterious. Now, if you've resolved a conflict and you're like, I'm over it, I'm good, I haven't, it hasn't been bothering. However, if you are experiencing symptoms, it can be difficult to sleep because, your body during the healing phase, you are in the state of vagotonia. And so there's swelling. And so there's discomfort, trying to sleep, trying to get comfortable when you've got swelling and kind of like throbbing, aching sort of feelings, that can keep you awake as well. And so a strong healing phase also might cause you to be like super duper tired during the day. Like you're exhausted all day long. And then you're like, oh yes, I can go to sleep. But you mysteriously, can't sleep during the first half of the night, and it takes forever to fall asleep. There's actually a biological reason for that, which is super interesting, which is your body is trying to protect you. Again, we've got all of this biological programming is ancient and developed at a different time in our organismic history when different concerns were prevalent, such as nighttime predators. And so here you are, you're in this weakened state because you're healing, your body is restoring tissue from an adaptation that you experienced while in conflict. And so it makes you easy prey. And so biologically, if you're having trouble sleeping when you're in a healing phase, it very likely is because your body's trying to keep you awake, to keep you safe from the nighttime predators, and then eventually you can fall asleep. So if that's the situation and you find you're exhausted during the day, you're pretty sure you're in a healing phase, if you're having headaches and swelling, and you're just, fatigued, no energy, let yourself sleep. If it's possible, taking frequent naps, sleeping during the day is actually really going to be helpful for you to get through the healing phase. I know that's not always practical, but we have to work with our bodies based on what they need. And so if you need naps, go ahead and take them, because you might get down to bedtime and not be able to fall asleep because your body's keeping you awake. Another reason it might be hard to sleep during the nighttime when you're in a healing phase is because your body is trying to prevent you from going into too deep of a vagotonic state and too much swelling. It's trying to keep you at a manageable level of vagotonia, because again, when you are in that very, very relaxed state, that's typically when the epicrisis will happen. When you have the healing crisis, it's when you get into this deep state of restorative rest, and then you have that surge of sympathetic activity. Your body sometimes will prevent you from going too deep into that, because we know that the epicrisis, that healing crisis, can be life-threatening at times if it is too intense. So something really interesting I read in Bjorn Ebel's book, the Psychic Roots of Disease, which is a wonderful book I recommend for everyone who's interested in German new medicine. He says that you can kind of, sort of trick the body by having caffeine during, coffee can actually help you to sleep because it's a sympathetic stimulant. It will help prevent you from going too deep into vagotonia, and it actually will allow you to fall asleep when your body is trying to prevent you from going too deep into the vagotonic state. The coffee does that biologically, therefore you won't have to go as deep into that state. Does that make sense? And so I thought that was very interesting when you are in healing, having some sympathetic stimulators like coffee or black tea, certain spices can help you to actually fall asleep when normally that would be counterintuitive. So those, when it comes to secondary insomnia, those are a few reasons. Active conflict, you're actively racing mind, trying to resolve, figure something out. That's why your body's keeping you awake, or it's trying to prevent you from being easy prey to nighttime predators, or it's trying to prevent you from going too deep into vagotonia. So that kind of covers the conflict-related causes. Let's also look at the lifestyle-related causes for insomnia. So exercise, that's one of the first places you want to look, because if you're not getting enough physical stimulation, we can get a lot of mental stimulation during the day, especially with just our, the way our society is, the way that we work a lot on computers, where we feel mentally exhausted, but our body is kind of not been physically worked. I know that exercise is huge for me, just getting good sleep. Getting good restful sleep. There's an agitation in my body when I don't exercise. And so are you exercising? Are you getting exercise? Not even just kind of maybe if you do one workout early in the day, even that for me, it's kind of like that consistent activity all throughout the day, that finding a way to incorporate movement into your day. So even if you have a desk job or something where, you have to be pretty stationary, setting a timer, getting up, moving around, exercising your body is extremely important to get into that state of rest eventually. So also good nutrition, you know, if you're eating sugary, carby things late at night, sometimes that can prevent good sleep. You know, just eating a diet that you're happy about eating, that you feel good about the foods that you're eating at consistent times each day. You know, when you eat at different times or you're eating super duper late, that can cause a disruption to your circadian rhythm as well. You know, cutting the stimulants, like the coffees, the teas late in the day. Steve and I have noticed that being, you know, we used to have, you know, go out for like an afternoon coffee or have afternoon coffee at home, but we started realizing it really was impacting our sleep. And so we cut it out because it just wasn't allowing us to fall asleep and stay asleep. So that kind of disturbed sleep where you're getting up all throughout the night. So you may need to cut stimulants altogether, or definitely, you know, past a certain time of the day. Let's see what else. Oh, screen time, you know, so we kind of live in this state of constant daylight because of indoor lighting, and we've got TV screens. And so, it can be messing up your circadian rhythm to have lights on all the time. So your body doesn't really know the difference between day and night. And so, you know, having a screen off policy like 1 hour before bedtime, that could be really beneficial. It's also really important to get like light exposure during the day. So exposure without glasses. And so actually wearing glasses they filter out the good like rays from the sun. And so your body can be depleted of this natural sunlight when you're wearing glasses all the time. And so like if you can get outside and have like 20 minutes of early morning sunlight, if that's possible for you, can help to reset your circadian rhythm. And then again, turning off all lights, you know, in the evening time as you're winding down, getting some blue light blocking glasses can also be very helpful, because that light, it signals certain things to your brain, to your, you know, your body's ability to produce melatonin, and just that normal, you know, decrease of cortisol in the evening. We are giving our body all sorts of crazy signals, and our bodies are just doing the very best that they can to adapt to the modern world. So the closer that you can get to nature, you know, at nighttime when you're sleeping, covering up all like the little blinking lights around your room, or wearing a sleep mask is really, can be very helpful to, you know, prevent. I read somewhere, I think years ago, I did a sleep workshop, and it was something about like, you know, this much light, just like a dime size amount of light can alter or decrease your body's production of melatonin by like 99% or something like that. Just extremely can be very impactful and very disruptive to your sleep cycles when there is light in the room at night. Also, I think temperature when sleeping is extremely important. Having a window open, it doesn't matter how cold it is, having a window cracked, having like fresh, cool air in the room helps me sleep so very much. So if you can, you know, keep it nice and cool in the room, crack the window, have some nice fresh air, that can help sleep. I mean, we lately have been doing that, even though it's like, you know, in the 20s at night, but we just knock out to sleep all through the night. So that is super important. Another thing is magnesium. Magnesium supplementation is super important. I found personally that when I'm having magnesium, there's like that calmness in the muscles. You know, if you've got kind of like restless legs or muscles that are cramping and you have a difficult time like relaxing to fall asleep, magnesium could be something to look into. Blue light, going to bed at the same time, like having that consistent schedule, getting up in the morning, looking at the light, kind of just getting into this very natural rhythm. Grounding or earthing, like putting your feet on the earth, all to reprogram like your earth suit. You know, I think that we have become so disconnected from natural rhythms, from, you know, daylight rhythm cycles from being outside on the earth, and that disconnection, that disruption, it is affecting us. And the closer that you can get to nature, the closer you can get to like how your ancestors did things as far as sleeping and cycles and stuff go, I think that would help tremendously. Another thing that we kind of been looking into, we haven't gotten it yet, is like one of those red light panels. And it's, you know, great for like stimulating collagen and all sorts of stuff. But I have read a few things that those red light panels can be very helpful as well. So I think that kind of covers most of the lifestyle related insomnia. So now I want to move into talking about insomnia as like a primary. So it's not because of a conflict. It's not because of, you know, a lifestyle habit or caffeine. It's a thing unto itself because you either have gotten into such a habit. Maybe you worked like shift work can screw up these cycles long term where it becomes chronic, or you were in a conflict for such a long time that conflict has since resolved, so you're not dealing with it as like a conflict anymore. It's resolved, but you got so used to, you became so habituated to not sleeping that your body has gotten used to not sleeping, and you can get into this kind of where you don't want to go to sleep, or you resist going to bed because you don't want to not be able to fall asleep. And so not sleeping can become a conflict in and of itself. Like, I'm not sleeping, and that's a problem for me because you've had so many bad experiences, being exhausted, not being able to sleep. Like, looking at your bed, thinking about going to bed can become a trigger that keeps you stuck in this conflict, and you get stuck in a vicious cycle of, I can't sleep because of XYZ reason, but now I'm upset that I can't sleep, and now the reason that I can't sleep is because I'm upset that I can't sleep. And so that is a cycle that can go on and on and on, and you can think that you've resolved everything. You can think that, like, I've made peace with the entire world, I've forgiven everyone and everything, but why can I not sleep? And it can be because of that conflict in and of itself, that long-lasting stress, that disturbed schedule where it was disrupted for so long. You were anxious and worried and, you know, fearful for such a long time that it has become your normal. So if that's the case, you know, that one is gonna take a little more mental transformation. You know, you're going to have to start thinking differently, even about your need for sleep. You know, I love listening to Abraham Hicks, and there's one lecture out there or Q&A where she's saying, you know, like, the body doesn't even really need sleep. You don't even need sleep. Really, what you're desiring is this release from resistance. You want that peace that comes with sleep. You want that release of worry, release of fear. You kind of want to set the reset button. And that's really what you're craving when you go to sleep. And so if you kind of break out of normal, like, no, the body needs 8 hours of sleep, and every minute I get less than 8 hours, it's aging me and it's doing horrible things. And, you know, like, we can get into such dismal thought patterns when it comes to stuff that we're dealing with, that it can become such a terrifying thing to not be able to sleep, that, again, the more fear, the more negative energy it holds, the more problematic it is for you, the more problematic it will be for you. And so in cases like that, you've got to look at the way that you're approaching this sleep situation, about going to bed every night, the way that you think about it, the way that you feel about it, how big of a problem you think that it is for you that you are not sleeping, and begin to just like wrap yourself in just this continual okayness. Like, this is fine. This is fine. Like, laying in bed awake. Since I've shifted, you know, there have been a couple of times that I haven't been able to fall asleep, or I've kind of like been up with ruminating thoughts. And it's that ability to kind of take your thoughts captive and transform them, and begin to flow your mind in a different direction, and think about, you know what, instead of I can't sleep, I'm missing out on something that I absolutely need. This shouldn't be happening. I should be sleeping. Watch the should thoughts. Those should thoughts are signs of resistance. Those should thoughts are signs that you believe that things in this moment are not okay. Things are not as they should be. They should be different. That's resistance. That's what needs to melt. That's what needs to be resolved, is that resistance to the way things are right here and right now. And so that's why I say you got to wrap yourself in this continual okayness. It's okay. It's okay that I'm laying here awake. It's okay that I am, freaking out about work tomorrow. It's okay that I'm trying to think positive and I can't. It's okay that I'm trying to, do these exercises or these imagination activities or do something positive with my mind, but I can't do that either. And so that's where it's just continual. This is okay. This is okay. This is fine. This is not a big deal. This is okay. This is okay. This is fine. This is not a big deal. And if you begin to use this time as a time to learn your mind, as a time to watch your mind, and you, in a sense, like you want to not be able to fall asleep. Like, oh goody, I'm looking forward to not being able to fall asleep tonight so I can watch my inner process. I can watch my inner program. I can watch my mind and how it works. And sometimes even that looking forward to something that you used to despise and hate and wish more than anything wasn't the case, it can kind of glitch out, and you can break out of a pattern by embracing it, by looking forward to it, by wanting it to happen. So that's another option. That's something that you can try to do, having nice little rituals for yourself, doing something like, oh, can't fall asleep, I'm having that trouble again, like anoint yourself with essential oils, put lavender on your feet, do something lovely. There are these Bach flower essences that have been used, to help resolve emotional stuff. You go through this ritual, you kind of tune in and tap in to something beyond the natural, something supernatural, prayer, positive imagination, using guided meditations, just imagining like colors and shapes and flowers, and just using your mind in new and different ways are at least something that can help you during that state. Release your need for things to be different than they are. Release that stress and worry that comes from you telling yourself, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. You want to release resistance. You want to really deeply feel that everything is okay and as it should be, even you not being able to sleep. And so when it comes to resolving it, it's like, well, when's it going to go away? I had a person asking me, it's like, well, when is it going to go away? How long is it going to take? And that's the thing, is I have no idea. Every individual is very different. I don't know what's going on in your mind all day. I don't know what's going on that is keeping you stuck in this state. I don't know if it's just a habit. I don't know if you need to add in, some of these circadian rhythm rebalancing. I don't know if there's something kind of deep underlying, a deep moral conflict that you're dealing with. Is there something you feel like you should be doing that you're not? Is it something that you aren't even fully aware of because you've kind of sublimated your awareness of this thing? You've got to look into that. You've got to look into the deep underlying internal conflicts that you may not even be able or willing or have yet to acknowledge because it hasn't come to your awareness, and so I like to just trust the body. I like to trust the body. I like to trust, if there's something I need to know, I'm gonna invite open space, come to the table, bring the demons to the table, the past traumas, let's bring it all out and make it a safe place for realization. And so if you feel like, I've done all the things, I've done everything you've talked about in this video and I'm still having the problem, staying open to realization, staying open to things coming to light, staying open to seeing things about yourself that maybe, before, you've hidden it so deeply because you're afraid to acknowledge whatever it is. That can keep knocking at you at night, but you may not be aware that it's knocking. You may have sublimated it and you've pushed it so far down that you're not even aware that it's something that needs to be looked at and addressed and looked at in a new perspective. But by this kind of open, this open call to all things, the spiritual call to the deepest parts of yourself, saying, hey, I really want to look at this. I really want to grow. I really want to evolve. And trusting what comes up, trusting that it will come up, trusting that what you need to see And noticing where your attention is drawn during the day. Notice the things that you want to pursue but are not pursuing. Notice the things that catch your attention, the quotes or the books or the, the seminar or the class, this thing, like notice. Your subconscious mind does want you to notice certain things, and it nudges. And so noticing those nudges, noticing where your attention is flowing, there's going to be clues. And I just so firmly believe that there's always clues. Everything is figure outable. There's going to be a way for you to get the results that you want. Even if that's, my body only needs 4 hours of sleep, and just telling yourself, I feel fully rested on 4 hours of sleep. If that's all that you can sleep, you've got to make it okay. It's got to be okay for you to get little to no sleep. It's got to be okay for you to be in the state that you are in by releasing that resistance, letting it be okay, letting all of the shoulds and oughts and this should have been fixed by now, letting all of that fall away. And that really applies to whatever you might be dealing with, whatever biological conflict or healing or life situation. That acceptance and that okayness is like the first stop to healing and resolution, is letting it be okay that you are where you are, that you're dealing with whatever it is that you're dealing with. So I think that's all the notes that I had on this for now, and I haven't seen any questions come in. So I hope you guys found this helpful. If you're dealing with this insomnia, give some of these things a try. Like, do all of them. That's what I like, just to do everything. Make sure that you're doing the exercise and you're going out and putting your feet on the earth and looking up at the sun, taking your glasses off, getting into a new rhythm, having the room cold at night. Do all of it. And just trust that this will be figured out. Your body's going to figure it out. Your body is on your side. It's not, attacking you. It's not doing anything wrong. You just want to get into rapport with yourself. And that comes from acceptance and releasing of resistance. So have a great rest of your Friday and a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you later.